Hiya, my name is Rick Lander. I really hope that's not the author's real name because I'm fucked if that's the author's real name. Word of advice, please never put your real name or anything like that in your story. Wow, we just started already. I have criticism. I once had a unique and creepy experience involving a season 4 disc of Drake and Josh. I was at a yard sale in Salem, I don't know how to pronounce that word, embarrassing, I know, New Hampshire. I saw a disc of Drake and Josh season 4 and thought I should buy it. You saw a disc or a DVD? Was it like a complete season 4 DVD or was it just one disc? Okay. I approached a tall, slender woman who was running the sale. She wore a pinstripe suit and was sipping a glass of water. Essential information that we will totally need. She asked what the matter was, and I just said I was hoping to buy the DVD and asked how much it was. She said I could have it for free. I said I'll buy it and walked off with the DVD. As I left, I could have sworn I heard her say, "Thank God that's off my Hold on, I thought it said chest, no. As I left, I could have sworn I heard her say, "Thank God that's off my hands," but it had to be my imagination. I got home and sat down on the couch, just looking at the disc. It was in almost perfect condition and I got it for free. Yeah, you already established that you got it for free. I don't know why you have to repeat that. It showed Drake and Josh just standing next to each other in an outside environment. Upon closer examination, I saw Megan standing in the far distance with her arms folded and a creepy grin on her face. I didn't care why, so I just proceeded to open the case. Inside was the disc. The disc had "special copy" written in Sharpie on it, so I was left wondering why it was special. Maybe it contained bonus material. Maybe someone just decided to write that to get the buyer's hopes up. I didn't know. I popped it into the TV and went into episode select. Since season 4 was the last season, I wanted to watch the last episode, which I was very fond of. It was there, but what I saw interested me more. There was an episode after it. The episode was called Megan's Big Day. I assumed maybe it was bonus material. I thought maybe it was a planned episode and was cancelled, and this DVD might have been the only known recording of it. With that thought in mind, I jumped up and let out a weird geekish squeal. I was fooled completely. I almost immediately selected the episode. The intro started up as usual. However, the song playing on the intro seemed to be slower than usual, and the singing was deeper. Very slightly though, I thought my mind was just playing tricks on me. The episode started up with a panoramic shot of the outside of their house. Then it showed Drake and Josh in their room. Drake was playing the guitar on the couch and Josh was pacing back and forth, reading a textbook out loud. Drake asked Josh to stop reading out loud, and then Josh asked Drake to stop playing his guitar so loud. They got into an argument as usual, bickering, the both of them. I was left wondering why the episode was called Megan's Big Day. Suddenly, Walter burst into the room and started screaming at them, telling them, I'm sorry, I can't take this seriously. Let's just think about this. This is a creepypasta based on Drake and Josh. Drake and fucking Josh. How do you make that scary? How do you make Drake and Josh scary? You just can't. I'm sorry, but you can't. Alright? I love Drake and Josh. That shit was my childhood. But you can't make it scary. You just can't. Alright? I appreciate the effort, but you can't make Drake and Josh scary. Oh my god, fucking how do you make Drake and Josh scary? Walter burst into the room and started screaming at them, telling them to stop arguing and that Megan was trying to practice her oboe in the living room. They said they were sorry, and then they got into an argument with Walter. Keep in mind, I'm giving you the abridged version. They argued for about 3 minutes. I was getting bored when I suddenly heard the mom's voice. She just yelled, "Downstairs, now!" This is when the episode took an unexpected turn. Upon going downstairs, Megan and her mom were sitting at the table with a demonic, creepy grin. The same grin on the cover of the DVD case, I thought. Megan said nothing but, "Hi, boobs," and started hyperventilating. One thing I realized was that their eyes were very shiny, glazed over, and looked almost possessed. I was pretty freaked out by now. I could do nothing but think about what the lady that ran the yard sale said. Thank God that's off my hands. The mom began to hyperventilate too. Drake, Josh, and Walter stood there, looking scared out of their minds. Suddenly, the screen faded to black. I assumed that would be where the commercial break would be to run, but what faded back still creeps me out to this day. What faded back was a picture of Drake and Josh, but one thing was off. They were both hung on a tree branch. Their eyes were shut and their faces were pale. Megan was seen standing next to them with the same demonic smile. But the one weird thing was that it was a still image. Yes, you already established that it was a picture and not a video. It faded away, to fade back as the show again. Drake, Josh, and Walter were slowly backing away as Megan and the mom rose slowly from their chairs. The mom quietly said, "So, Megan, tell the nice boys about the news." Megan twitched and said nothing. She slowly took... I can't take this seriously, I'm sorry. She slowly took her oboe out from behind her back and approached Drake, Josh, and Walter. Walter had ran out of the room as soon as she did. She suddenly ran at the two, screaming bloody murder. She began whacking Drake in the head, Josh staring in awe, too shocked to do anything. I cringed when Drake's head started bleeding and he fell to the floor. Josh squealed and the screen faded to black again. Knowing something terrible would fade back, I prepared for the worst. The screen faded back to show Drake's bloodied body lying on the living room floor, and oboe lying next to him. Once again, it was a still image. What faded back was footage of Josh being bludgeoned. Do I want to know what that is? I don't think I want to. With Megan's oboe, and I'm gonna assume they mean like stabbing, like Megan is stabbing Josh. I don't know. With Megan's oboe, her fucking elbow. With Megan's oboe, and the mom was kicking him over and over again. Megan eventually cracked his neck, and Josh fell to the floor. Megan and her mom cackled an evil laugh, and suddenly, a still shot of Drake and Josh's bloodied bodies next to each other flashed on screen. Thankfully, I didn't see it long because the DVD player in the TV just shut off. I picked up the DVD and looked at it. Instead of saying special copy, it said Doom! Just Doom! The TV turned back on and simply said, "Turn around," in black text. I just had to turn around. Behind me, I saw Megan holding an oboe. Alright, well, just like that, now the story is not gonna be... Okay. Well, now this story just became really fucking stupid. I mean, it already was stupid from the start. It's a creepypasta about fucking Drake and Josh. It was stupid from the start, but like now it's just even more stupid. Behind me, I saw Megan holding an oboe. I jumped about 50 feet in the air, and my heart started beating rapidly. She had a green face, scarred on the cheek. I think you mean scar, not scarred. She looked like a zombie. She hissed, the loudest hiss I ever heard in my life, and attempted to stick the oboe into my chest. I swerved at the last minute, screaming my head off, and dashed towards my workshop. Upon entering the workshop, I sat and caught my breath. I took the nearest hammer and dashed back to the living room. Megan was standing with an angry face, her oboe in her left hand. I took the DVD and smashed it into pieces with the hammer. Almost immediately she faded out and, with the loudest scream I ever heard, disintegrated. Ever since then, I looked back at that experience as the scariest and most unbelievable thing that's ever happened to me. I visited the house where the yard sale took place to find out that the owners had moved away and that the house just looked like a barren hunk of wood. This experience is still not explained, and I could find no information about Megan's big day anywhere on the internet. And that was Drake and Josh Lost episode. That was... Yeah, it was pretty good. I just want to tell you that I love the Beatles. They have great music and great talent. I have their albums, t-shirts, and items. I even enjoy the old cartoon of the Beatles that was made in the 60s, but it wasn't long until I found out there was a morbid secret to the cartoon. I was at a collector's shop where they had a section about the Beatles. I was looking for some Beatle mugs and pins. I bought 2 Beatle mugs and 4 Beatle pins, and just I was about to leave the Beatles section, something caught my eye. It was a videotape called The Lost Beatles Cartoon. I really wanted to get it, so I told my mom that I want to buy it, and when I went to tell the counter worker that I would like to buy the tape, he said I couldn't have it. He told me that he watched it and had nightmares. I was surprised that he said that about the tape because it was the Beatles. How can a cartoon about a band be scary? Well, I mean, it all depends on what band the cartoon is based on. A cartoon based on BTS would be fucking nightmare fuel, for example. But he said, never mind, you're just going to have nightmares anyway, and gave me the tape. And while I was walking away, I saw him folding his hands like he's praying. So he's currently praying. Use the correct tense, please. I was starting to feel like there is something wrong with the tape. When I got home, I immediately went downstairs to watch this mysterious video. When the video went on, something weird happened in the beginning. It was the sound of screams of someone in agony. I was scared until the opening title was on. It was like usual. The episode was called Because, and I thought it had to do with the Abbey Road song Because. Then the cartoon played and something was wrong. It was totally different than the original style. It looked similar to the original, but it looked darker. Then the episode showed all 4 Beatles in their original design: John, Paul, George, and Ringo. They had voice actors that sounded like Paul Frees and Lance Percival. Then the author just expects us to know who those are. They were talking about some kind of a CD they found outside the recording studio and talking about listening to it. This was strange, as CDs weren't invented until 1976, and the show was produced in the late 60s. So then the scene showed John putting the headphones on until it happened. John all of a sudden just looked like he just blacked out. Then Paul said, "John, are you alright?" Then the screen zoomed up to John, who had started drooling, and all of a sudden John's eyes turned into a LSD acid trip image with weird colors. After 10 seconds of John's acid tripping face, something appeared. I grabbed the clicker and went backwards to see what it was. What I saw was a morbid, grotesque picture. It was a picture of a man with a ventriloquist dummy. The scary part of the picture was that the man with the dummy had no mouth. Instead, there was blood on his face where his mouth is supposed to be. The dummy had fire in his eyes and an insane smile. I had to choke back some vomit after watching it. Then the screen went back to John's face. "Are you alright?" asked Ringo. "Seeing is not believing. Seeing is killing." John soon got back consciousness and said, Yes, I am. What time is it, George?" "It's 1:13, said George. Then the screen went black and blood started to rain down. But this blood was hyper-realistic. Fuck off. Just fuck off. It looked so real that if I touched the screen, I would get blood on my fingers. Once again, fuck off. Just fuck off, please. The blood rain soon disappeared and soon showed the Beatles walking to a lake. A crowd of girls soon started chasing the guys for 30 seconds when all of a sudden a picture of a girl with no eyes, just her eye sockets dripping with blood. She had no teeth and more blood was pouring out of the mouth. It was another picture of a Zalgo victim that was popular on Creepypasta. Alright, reference another Creepypasta in your own Creepypasta. That's a good thing. Never do that, please. Just never reference another fucking creepypasta in your creepypasta. Just never do that. That's like a big no-no. I jumped back on the couch after seeing it. Then the screen went to John's face, and all of a sudden, the screaming of the fans stopped, and when all 4 of them turned around to check, all of the fans were on the ground, burning to a crisp. Paul, clearly petrified, asked, What happened?" Then the scene showed Ringo vomiting out red vomit with chunks of brown meat. Something caught my eye. I paused and looked closely at the vomit, and there was the face of Hitler. Are you fucking serious? I was shocked that a man who killed millions of people and soldiers was in a cartoon about the Beatles. I mean, okay, look. The subject matter of these two stories are already fucking stupid enough. We have Drake and Josh, and now we have the Beatles. The last things I would ever expect creepypastas to be made out of. But like, what the fuck? You have Hitler appearing in this story, and then you have fucking Megan coming into existence in the Drake and Josh story, or whatever. I don't fuck. This is fucking stupid. Let's just keep reading. Just forget about it, said John. But what about our fans? I don't give a fuck! I was shocked that this episode involves John saying fuck. Well, if you think that's shocking, then I'd hate to see the look on your face when you hear the first song on his 1972 album, Sometime in New York City. I can't believe I just made a joke about that, but I did. Anyone watching this that's a fan of the Beatles, or at least John Lennon's solo career, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about, don't you? Anyone that has no clue what I'm talking about, just don't look it up. I think it's for the best that you don't look it up. But I decided to continue on. The next scene showed a building that was about to be demolished. The Beatles were walking down a hallway when the wrecking ball hit the building. A piece of rubble went flying in the air. It was about to miss a person when John did the unthinkable. He pushed the man back to where the piece of rubble was about to fall. In a second, the piece of solid marble crushed the guy to death. Realistic blood and brain matter went everywhere. The blood and brain matter looked like it was real. Yeah, you already established that it looks realistic. Why the fuck did you say it again? A crowd of people surrounded the scene where the camera zooms up to John with an evil smirk on his face. The next scene only showed just a black screen. Only thing I heard was a gunshot. Then there was smoke that seems to represent the fired gun. Then the screen showed the recording studio where the Beatles record their music. There was no lights on, but I did hear mumbling, and I listened closely to hear someone saying, I shouldn't have done that. They're going to know soon. Then one light went on. There was a shadow outside the door. It was the form of John. It wasn't long until the light was reflecting to the sound manager in the recording booth. Dead! I quickly figured out he was shot by a shotgun. The camera zoomed up to the ground outside the room. In a quick shot, a model M1887. Okay, that's a really fucking specific thing. Why do you have to bring up what gun it was? That's really unnecessary. Fell to the ground with blood on it, and bits of smoke still coming out of the barrel. The next scene showed Paul and George and Ringo knocking on John's room door. Then Ringo, for some reason, busted down the door, and there was a humongous safe that was the size of a SUV. They didn't know what the combination was, but for some reason it wasn't locked up all the way. They opened it up, and they found out John's secret. Get ready for this, guys, because you will never look at John Lennon the same way again. I'm warning you right now. Anyone that's a fan of John Lennon that's watching this video, you will never look at him the same way. He was a Satanist. Dun dun dun! There was a dead body of a woman with a pentagram with blood in her eyes gorged out. There were dead animals, a fan-made Necronomicon and goat's skull on a pentagram. In fear, George fell to the ground. Paul had to choke back vomit, and Ringo in a sad way started crying. Apparently, there are other ways to cry. Crying isn't sad. Apparently you can cry in... It's okay. I don't know how to say this line. Apparently, you can cry in a non-sad way, according to this story. The crying from Ringo didn't sound like normal cartoon crying. It sounded as real as day. What makes cartoon crying? Every time these stories always bring that up, like, it didn't sound like fake crying, but rather it sounded like real crying. Like, what makes real crying different from fake crying? I don't get it. And in a shock, I found out that the dead woman was Ringo's fiancée, Jenny. I didn't know that Ringo had a fiancée, but I was scared that Ringo's crying started to get mixed with screams of a girl. I started to suspect that's supposed to be the screams of Jenny. The screen went black. Then the screen showed the view of the sun setting from John's legs. The screen immediately went to John's face that had a mad expression and a rapid moving mouth. He had red in his iris. He had a noose around his neck. He was about to commit suicide. He shut his eyes and jumped. The camera showed John's feet still swinging. The camera zoomed out to show John's lifeless body hanging on the small cliff on the lake that the Beatles were going to in the beginning of the episode. The screen went black and Paul appeared in a sad expression, and the screen went black again. And then the scary part begins. I thought it already started a long time ago. Without warning, Paul's face appeared with hyper-realistic eyes. Once again, fuck off. Just fuck off. There was so many camera views of Paul's face, like a zoom out of him in the corner. Then pictures appeared. I remember seeing a picture of hand with a gun in it, and the gun was pointed to a... I'm not reading that. I am really not reading this. I'm not reading this. Oh my god, it's just gore for no reason, just pointless stuff that's just supposed to be scary. Shock value doesn't make you scary. Alright, I'm not reading this shit. After more pictures, it shows Paul with the same expression that he had before the scary slideshow. Then a voice appeared of a low, quiet voice saying, "Do it." Then an M1911 Colt pistol appeared in Paul's hand. Why do you specify which gun it is? Just say a gun appeared in his hand. Why do you have to specify what fucking gun it is? That's no reason for that. He puts it in his mouth and pulls the trigger. Realistic blood and brain matter went everywhere. Then the camera zoomed up to the capsule of the bullet that shot Paul. And the capsule said, "Your life was already over, Paul." Oh shit, is this going to be connected to the Paul is dead theory? Nah, that would make the story actually kind of interesting. Yeah, no. The next scene showed George on a cliff from the same lake John committed suicide. He was about to commit suicide too. I thought he was going to jump off the cliff, but instead he pulled out a gun and shot himself. And why didn't you specify which gun George used? Why didn't you do that? At the end of the scene, the camera zoomed to the gun, and the gun was the same gun Paul used to commit suicide. And the gun said, "It takes 2 bullets to kill 2 Beatles." It scared me a little bit. It sent chills down my spine. The next scene showed Ringo in the hospital, dying of a unknown disease. He took the picture of him and his fiancée and the engagement ring he gave her, and then he died. At the end of the episode, it appears to be in a dark hall. All I hear was screams, whistles, yelling, and gunshots. I soon found out that the hall was in a prison. The scary part was that every time the lamp swings in the hall, a black hooded figure appeared. It wasn't long until I found out it was John with gray skin and red irises. He said, "I hope you enjoyed your life, because my life is over, including my friends, all because of me, John." And right behind him was a crowd of guards and prisoners. It seems that some of them had bullet holes in their head and blood all over their bodies. And the weird part was that the prisoner that was right next to John... You really want to go there, story? Wow, you know what, I was kind of expecting this, but still, you really want to go there, story. And the weird part was that the prisoner that was right next to John was Mark David Chapman. If you don't know who he is, the story's gonna explain. It scared me how the guy who killed Lennon was right behind the evil, demoniac cartoon John Lennon. You really just included the guy that murdered John Lennon into your story, and he's gonna serve no fucking purpose. His inclusion will serve no purpose to the story. It'll only be because it's scary, shock value, and it's just gonna make you look tasteless, since this was a real person. This guy committed a real fucking murder, and you just added, wow, wow. For 30 seconds, evil John and the crowd of prisoners and guards started walking straight, like if they were walking towards me. The more they keep walking, the more blood they get on themselves. John started to turn into a snake in a weird way. Is there a non-weird way for John to turn into a snake? His eyes turned reptilian, his skin turned scaly, and his tongue was in the form of a snake's tongue. What else would it be? You just established that it was whatever. Then the episode finally ended. I went backwards and kept rewinding the opening credits to believe how stupid I was to believe this was a nice episode. It wasn't long until something caught my eye. I looked closely at the bottom of the word "because," and I paused to see that the episode was actually called The Beatles Cartoon. Because of John, they are dead. And if you look in the image, you could see that they used the wrong there, so that's nice. It's weird because the actual story uses the correct there, and yet the image uses the wrong there. If there's one thing I hate more than typos or incorrect grammar, it's inconsistent grammar. I was about to take the tape out until the VCR went on fire. I immediately got my mom and a fire extinguisher. We put out the fire and discovered that the VCR was still okay because we put in more VCR tapes in and they worked. But the only thing that was destroyed by the fire was the tape, and it was the tape that started the fire. My mom and I went to the collector's shop and brought the tape back. The counter worker for the Beatles section said, "What happened to the tape?" "It was set on fire when the tape ended," I said. He took the tape and threw it away. The next day, I was in the car with my mom to take something back that my dad forgot to take to work when we saw police surrounding a house and 6 men were being retrieved out of the house. My mom was told by an officer that 6 men were arrested for drug possession and grave robbing. It wasn't long until stuff came out of the house, and that stuff was like the things people use for recordings for cartoons. They even found drawings of what they say is a morbid cartoon. It involved the Beatles. The police were informed that they sold the tape to a collector's shop. I told the police I got the tape and they showed me the drawings to see if I was right. I got all of them right. After telling them about the tape, they gave me an award of $200. I was glad that I got money, but that the sight of seeing the tape scared half to death. For 4 days I had nightmares, and when the nightmares stopped, a tape appeared on my front porch, and it said, "You shouldn't have watched that," but I threw it away in the trash and never seen that thing again. But I wonder why the tape said that. All I could say is, goodbye and see you later. Oh wow, that was an adventure. There you go, Beatles, fucking Drake and Josh lost episode and Beatles cartoon lost episode. 2 extremely random things to make creepypastas out of. Yeah. Have a nice day.